So it seems that NASA managed to get 4 astronauts into orbit, and allegedly they're going to the moon. That's a good use of rockets. At the same time, they're smashing the hell out of Iran, which is the better use of rockets, American money, and our time. I'm Lembit Öpik. This is Lembit Öpik Live.
This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you!
Boring. Boring. Boring.
You got it work. Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. That's exactly what you're doing. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
I call again for immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
Welcome, Lembit Öpik here on an exciting day if you're into space, or if you're interested in missions to the moon. Yes, we went to the moon. Before you start going on about that, no doubt we'll have a discussion about that, as we always do when I discuss issues of space travel. The Artemis 2 rocket successfully took off. I was there, I was watching, with 4 astronauts on board. They're destined to go around the moon and come back again. Some rather grand claims as well. There's a statement that these astronauts will go further from the Earth than anyone has ever done, and all kinds of other things. Anyway, the big point is the SLS, which is the huge big rocket which NASA used to get them into space, worked faultlessly. And they're somewhere up there, over 1,000 miles away from the Earth, orbiting around. At some point in the next 24 hours, if all looks good, they'll be going to the moon. That's a nice use of rockets. It's about science, it's about adventure. Perhaps most importantly, it's about not killing people. Meanwhile, the very same technology is being used to smash Iran to pieces. And Donald Trump, the American president, is continuing with his bellicose commentary as he yet again changes his mission objectives and suggests he's going to be out of the Iranian war in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So the question today is, what should be happening in terms of space, and what should be happening in terms of Iran? And within all that, where's Britain? Why is Britain not involved in any of the discussions in any serious way? Yvette Cooper, who for some mysterious reason has now got some foreign secretary role, is trying to convene a meeting about oil. Well, it's a bit late now, Yvette. Britain hasn't played any meaningful role so far. By the way, I don't think we should be involved in the Iran war, but they haven't even got a diplomatic role. So I'm wondering what's happening there. Anyway, you don't need to know my speculations. There's somebody far more intelligent than me, because he's got an MBE. And that is perhaps somebody who we could legitimately call an MBE with a purpose, with a cause. Does that mean you are smarter and more noble than the rest of us? Are you kind of landed gentry, Nick Buckley?
If the criteria to get an MBE was to do with intelligence, then I definitely wouldn't have got one.
I don't agree. I think that you're one of the smartest and perhaps most mature people that we have, in a good way. Once again, just to explain to those who may not have seen you before, what does an MBE actually denote? What's it mean?
Means member of the British Empire. I got mine for charity work.
Does that mean that if there's a war, you have to go?
No, it means if there's a war, I get a special place in one of the bunkers.
I was somewhere in East London, or just on the outskirts of London, and there's this big, huge sign with an arrow, massive big road sign saying secret nuclear shelter. It must have been ironic. That's a big sign. And when I was an MP, there were all these masts. I think they're called the submarine masts, and the Green Party, I think. No, it might have been CND. I can't remember who now. But they had this big demonstration saying, these masts are to communicate with submarines in the nuclear fleet. And the headline was, demonstrators campaign outside the submarine masts, because that's what everyone called them. Right, anyway, I'm not sure if you're interested in space. Did you watch the launch?
I didn't know it was even. I didn't know anything about any of this until you dropped me a message yesterday saying, well, we may talk. Up to that point, I had no idea this was going on.
It's quite a big rocket. I know it didn't take off in north of England, but this is it here, actually. The Artemis 2 on the SLS, the bit on the top is called the Artemis 2. It was quite spectacular, actually, when it took off. I think it's the most powerful rocket in history. I'm not sure. But it's only the second time it's flown. And apparently, it was a pretty faultless launch, which is a relief because there are people on top. Some of the estimates of possible failure are as high as 50%, which is quite remarkable. It hasn't failed. But they still got the risky bit to go. The most dangerous part is actually the launch, as in with flying. The most dangerous part is the takeoff. But they're in orbit somewhere. If you could go into space, would you do it?
Oh, many years ago, I would have jumped at the chance. I probably think I'm a bit too old now and a bit aching too much to do it. But the opportunity, I think, would be amazing to go into. I mean, to be fair, I was almost an astronaut.
What?
Yeah, have you not heard of this?
No.
I was almost an astronaut. I got told that if the day I was conceived, if my dad hadn't been so drunk, I'd have been shot into space.
I honestly didn't expect you to say that. So this is an artist's impression of your parents' boudoir. I'll be using that one again, but probably not on air.
Right, okay.
So this is you rather caught me unaware of that one. I think it just about passes the sort of watershed. Okay, there's a joke I'll tell you after we're off air, which I can't tell you at the moment. It's meant to be a serious show sometimes. It never really is with you. I'm actually going to. Based on what you said, I almost hesitate to show you the next one. My team wanted me to do a quiz, and I'm frightened what your response will be. The quiz is, what's this?
It looks like a lady's lipstick.
Oh, very good. Very good recovery. It's actually a black arrow. Around 1970, you probably don't know this, the Brits were well into the space race, and they launched this odd-looking thing from Australia with a satellite on top of it called Prospero. Do you know how long Prospero... two things about it. First of all, that was a completely clean rocket. It didn't leave loads of pollution because the waste product of its rocket engine was water. And the second thing is, so it went up in 1970 or thereabouts. Might have been 71. I think it was 1970. How long do you think our satellite launched from Australia stayed in space?
It's either going to be very short or very long. So it's either a day and a half or it's still up there now.
Yeah, still up there now.
Yeah.
Till 2070. What went wrong? You had all this ambition and success. It's gone.
It's because we don't produce anything. Our organizations don't work. The infrastructure doesn't work. Our institutions don't work. Our country just doesn't work anymore. And I think, landing rockets on the moon in '69 was up to now the peak of human intelligence. And it seems like we're on a very slow decline since then.
I've just got to get some of the comments. So good morning, Carlamids, as well. Rightful Seed says hot shots. And unfortunately, your earlier comments causes Rightful Seed to suggest further exploration, as in probing Uranus. Anyway, that's your fault, Nick.
I've lowered the tone of the show once again.
You basically have in the most unexpected but admittedly amusing way. Artemis 2, I know you're not great at space, but Artemis 2 is, for people like me, fascinating. My grandfather was involved in the original Apollo mission. He was an astronomer. His job was to work out whether the astronauts would be sinking into a kind of dusty quicksand on the moon or not. Luckily, he got it right, and they didn't. But I've followed all my life. Do you know why they called it Artemis, this new moon endeavor?
No.
Because Artemis is the twin of Apollo. That's why.
Right.
So Artemis is the natural name for the follow-on. So you've had Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, and Artemis. And if this one goes well, they'll do Artemis 3 mucking about in Earth orbit just to make sure everything works, and then Artemis the moon. And we went to the moon. We did go to the moon. And also, with your mischievous intent, you might be questioning that. You do know we went to the moon, don't you? No.
I think we probably did, but I wouldn't say I 100% believe it. Let me see if I can convince you. So in 1969, height of the Cold War, there's a space race. The Russians have already launched the first satellite, already put the first live animal in space, and also put the first man in space. The Americans are trailing behind. The PR is killing the Americans that they're behind the Russians. Suddenly, the Americans then land the first man on the moon. Is it beyond all possibility that in 16, I'm not talking about all the other times, I'm talking about just 69, is it a possibility? Is it beyond the realms of possibility that the Americans wanted some PR during the Cold War and could have staged that landing in 69 just so the Russians couldn't claim to land on the moon first? Isn't that, in the whole realm of everything, a minute possibility?
No. It's rubbish. Look at the size. Thank you. That is Apollo 11. No, it might be an Apollo 8, actually. But it's a Saturn V rocket, 363 feet tall. Think of the size of the conspiracy to launch that, get the astronauts, to hide somewhere? Maybe they weren't on it at all.
Oh, no, I'm not. So I'm talking about landing on the moon and coming back. So
right.
the rocket may have taken off. The rocket may have contained the astronauts. It was just a delay for it coming back to Earth. So
why would the Russians, why would the Soviet Union possibly give the win to America if it didn't happen?
Oh, there's lots of Russian scientists since that saying it was faked, saying it couldn't be done, technology couldn't do it, the astronauts would have died. I'm just saying, in the whole realm of possibility, isn't there a 0.0001% chance that it never happened because of the Cold War and the space race? Isn't there just that sliver of opportunity to make sure America got the first people on the moon?
Technically, there is a non-zero chance that it was made up. Yes. Right. But it's harder to fake it than to make it. Because if you've got a big enough telescope, Nick Buckley MBE, you can see the bits on the moon. You can still see them. They're sitting there on the moon.
Yeah, but I'm not saying we never went to the moon. I'm just saying 69.
And people wonder what's wrong with the country.
I don't know. I don't know.
Right. I suppose you don't believe mobile phones exist either, then.
I don't think that. Yeah, of course they do. Of course they do.
Columnids, you've opened a can of worms now, Nick. Column says the fact they haven't been back tells its own story. And Colin says, true, Lembit. I think they hid what they found, and that's more interesting. I'm beginning to get very interested in the prospect of extraterrestrial visitations.
Well, beyond that, I mean, is this a coincidence or is this a conspiracy theory? Since we allegedly went to the moon in 69, the Western world has never had a cheese shortage. So is the moon really made of cheese?
Yeah, okay, well, I see that this has descended into some kind of a farce. All right, well, moving on, I will show you this, though. Possibly, allegedly, this is the flight path for the thing. They're going around the Earth at the moment, checking everything. If the moon even exists, of course, that's where they'll be going, swinging by. In a way, it's not that adventurous because Apollo 8, which did something similar, actually went into orbit, allegedly, in 1968, even longer ago. But they're just flying by and using the moon's gravity to get back. They don't want to take too many risks. But anyway, yeah. Oh, I hope it's Edam cheese, says Carla Mids. All right. I've seen moon rock, and it didn't smell like that. All right, so that's whatever happened there. There's another rather more disturbing thing. Do you know where that is? You must know. Carg Island.
Is it the Horn of Hormuz?
It's the Carg Island in the Gulf, and at the other extreme, Donald Trump, the US president, using rockets for a rather more nefarious, well, some would say nefarious intent, which is to kill people and to destroy, or maybe that he might argue that's incidental, but I wouldn't say he could say that because they've clearly killed a lot of the high command of Iran. So they're using the same technology for this. What do you make of? There's no doubt there's a war going on in Iran. What do you make of the rocketry and all of the missile lobbing at Iran, which still is going on? It wasn't a short, sharp victory, as Trump had suggested. Now he's talking about 2 to 3 weeks more.
This is what happens in lots of wars, lots of interventions. They always, not always, a lot of the time they get out of hand. On paper, you're sat in the room in the White House, your generals are saying, we can do this, we can do that. And then when you put it all into plan, it never goes the way you expect it to go. So I think this has been dragged out now. I don't think Trump wanted it to go on this long. I think he probably wanted a short, sharp shock, knock out the infrastructure, knock out the commands, knock out their nuclear capabilities and just walk away. But it's taken longer and longer. Will he be able to achieve his aim? I don't know. I'm not for or against the war. I just don't know enough about it, what they wanted out of it to be able to determine if it was successful or not. But it's bad for Europe. It's not bad for America. It's bad for Europe, this war. And war technology, the research and development side of war is continuing. And a lot of the inventions we make for war we end up finding domestic use for them as well, commercial use. So it does have a little, it's not a benefit. It's an unintended benefit of some of these things as well.
It is an interesting point you make. That's where the overlap really is. The Apollo missions, the Saturn V rocket was actually invented by the man who invented the V2 rocket for the Nazis, Werner von Braun. They didn't really talk about his background very much in America when he was active there. So there can be a spin-off benefit, but I can't see a huge amount of benefit coming from the current Iran war.
Not for us and not for Europe, but I can see benefit for America. I think I've said this on your show before. Trump is trying to prepare America for the next 10, 20 years. The rise of China as an international threat. And what he's trying to do is reposition his pieces. That's why he did what he did in was it El Salvador? Was it El Salvador? Wanting Greenland, and he wants to take
I think you mean
out
Venezuela.
Was it right? Sorry, Venezuela, and taking out Iran is part of that because I would imagine his generals are foreseeing threats to America, not threats to Europe, threats to America. So I can see a benefit to them, no benefit to us. A disturbed Middle East again.
With it, we're over halfway through already. I just have to very briefly remind you, Tim Scott Uncancelled is one of the other shows here. After the break, we're going to talk about Britain's irrelevance, in my view, in the whole situation. But before that, Tim Scott's wonderful programs stand the test of time. Please do like and subscribe to Unprecedented TV, which you'll find on YouTube. And here's one of the shows. Tim Scott uncancelled there. Great fellow, great series. Let's get back to, well, what we're discussing here with Nick Buckley MBE is the continuing conflict in Iran. And an overnight story, if you're watching this live, came out. Streets flood in central Israel following missile attack, and Trump, US on the cusp of ending Iran war. A couple of things here. It does seem to me that Iran is inflicting some significant damage on Israel. You can't really be sure what is going on here as well. Probably playing down the damage. But Trump keeps saying different things. It was regime change. Then it was the end of the nuclear initiative in Iran, which we'd already been told had been smashed to bits. Then it was securing the Strait of Hormuz so oil can get through. Then he said, you're on your own about the oil and we're going to leave soon. What's his military objective, do you think?
It'd just be a guess. I think they have one. It doesn't mean they're going to share it with their partners, with the West or with the world. Trump's very good at muddying the water all the time about what he wants and what he'll accept. Nobody knows what he wants or what he'll accept. And he does all that on purpose to keep everybody on edge. I heard a rumor yesterday, this may or may not be true, but you probably not heard it, that Iran are intending to shoot Rachel Reeves in a rocket into Tel Aviv so Rachel Reeves can destroy their economy too.
Where is she? She's missing in action. Rachel Reeves has the singular accolade of causing the mainstream media, particularly the BBC, to use the word unexpected more than I've ever heard. Before. Inflation is higher than it is, well, higher than expected, actually. It says unexpected increase in interest rates, unexpected decrease in growth. Everything's unexpected with Rachel. The only unexpected thing is that she's still in her damn job, as far as I can tell. She would be a lethal weapon. If we sent Rachel Reeves undercover to Iran to be the Ayatollah, she would bring Iran to its knees within one economic cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And nobody would know who to blame.
Yes, it would be everybody else. It would be the chess game that she never won, that was in her CV, or the economics job she never did. I don't know what it would be. Rachel Reeves does go on.
I was going to say, if you look on her CV, at one point she was an Islamic scholar. So she could be the Ayatollah. You never know.
Yeah, that would be worse. That would be unexpectedly bad for Iran. They'd be begging Trump to help them out if she was there. There's us missing in action. I saw a poster. I think we put it on one of the earlier shows. Missing in action. We'll talk about the UK's problems in a minute. So, but Trump's problem, I think, is, if we put that up again. Thank you. They keep saying they're going to come out very soon, but they haven't come out. What's his exit strategy from this? When's enough?
The obvious answer is when they've achieved their military objectives.
But what are they? What are their military objectives?
I have no idea. They will know. And it wouldn't be, it's quite possible that they're not reaching them and they're having to say, sorry, Mr. President, we're only 70% through of what we said we could do in a couple of weeks. I know it's been a month now, but we're only 70% achieved of what we thought we could achieve. Who knows? Is it going wrong? Is it going right? Is it going better than expected? Do they know what they're doing? Does the president know? All these questions, we have no idea, mainly because it's Trump, and Trump always keeps his cards to his chest. Who knows?
There's quite a lot of commentary. I'm going to try and keep up with it because you guys are very active. If you do want to follow it, go to @Unprecedented TV on YouTube, and you can also get into the comments. Let's just go through a few of these. Rightful Seed, like the war toaster from 1941. Problem is now, it's all the trust is gone. How can Iran trust the USA? Again, that's a good point. I think this is the point. Iran said, well, we're not going to go for a ceasefire because we were talking about peace when you attacked us. So why would we bother? Loud TV 2 is Lout V2, not sure how we put it, how I say it. Is it naive to believe that this could have been a quick in and out and restore Iran? It is necessary to push out terrorism, but how far can we go in doing this? And Column says, all for Israel, what a shame. Rifle C says, I think the birth rate collapse will take down all Western governments regardless. It's baked in the cake. And that's why they are importing more people, says Column. We do need the repositioning. We need a leader, however awful the interim phase, Loud TV says, and we can't always react. We need to be ahead of the game. I do keep calls and comments coming, and changing leaders spooks markets. Columnists right about that. So, I see. Loud for Laura. Thank you, Laura. Bottom line here is that I think they're in a big mess. So the real contrast is the clear moon mission objectives of Artemis 2. We know what they want to do. They want to go around the moon this time, low Earth orbit on Artemis 3, and land on the moon Artemis 4. No confusion. Scientifically robust if they can do it. Put paid to any argument about whether we went to the moon or not now, because I think most people will believe it if they see it. Even though fake news is actually easier now than ever before. But when it comes to the mission objectives in Iran, very hard to understand what they actually are. And not sure we're going to fix it now. Meanwhile, what I really wanted to talk with you about is the complete breakdown in the relationship between Donald Trump and Keir Starmer. There's this incredibly embarrassing moment. This isn't a picture of it, but when Starmer went all the way to Egypt just to get a photograph with Trump, and Trump said, "Where's United Kingdom? Where's United Kingdom?" And then Trump more or less summons Starmer from the back. Starmer glances at the microphone, obviously thinking he's going to say something, and then Trump just turns his back on him and dismisses him. And Trump literally just humiliates Starmer. It seems to me that whatever Trump's plans in Iran, the UK is now irrelevant.
Absolutely. For several reasons. The first reason is we're not a military force anymore. The first Sea Lord, who's in charge of the Royal Navy, came out the other day and said, we're not ready for war. He's head of the Navy. We don't have any ships. We couldn't send a ship to protect our bases in Cyprus. We are militarily in a mess, so they don't need us. And also, because it's a Labour government, they're pushing back on Trump anyway because of their backbenchers, because of the woke agenda and the far left agenda, and it's Muslim countries. All those things kick into play. And I think Trump criticising and disrespecting the United Kingdom is a warning to everybody else, to his other European partners, that play ball or I'm going to disrespect you. We don't need any of yous, but it's good for you to come on board for PR. And I think he's using the British now as a bit of a whipping boy.
Why do you think he's saying that about us, about Europe? He said, get your own oil as well, rather plaintively. Is it because he's just generally fed up with Europe, or is it because he bit off more than he could chew?
It's probably a bit of everything. I mean, he's probably under stress anyway. He's probably really annoyed with the British, their closest ally. We're in the habit of always doing as we're told and following the Americans. The only time we really didn't was in the Vietnam War, and that was a great decision not to go there. And I don't think he likes Starmer. I think he sees Starmer as an extremely weak, pathetic middle manager. And Trump wants to deal with leaders, people who he can respect. He may not like, but he can respect them. And he knows where he stands with them. And they can do deals face to face. He can't do deals with Starmer because Starmer doesn't run the country. And that really, really annoys Trump.
What do you mean he doesn't run the country?
Oh, he has no power. He has no say. His backbenchers won't allow him to do anything. We're almost bankrupt. He's incompetent. He's weak. He's pathetic. No one's really running our country at the moment, and they haven't been for several years now. Trump knows that, So realizes straight away, what's the point of me talking to you, engaging you, wasting my time on you? You're a nobody. So why waste my time on you?
That's fairly harsh criticism there. I have to say the body language between the two of them is always quite awkward. You've always got Starmer. Well, there's an example of it. Starmer always seems to be trying to get his approval, but he just doesn't come across as approval worthy in a weird way. That's probably not a word, but I mean, look at it here. You've got Starmer always saying things like, "Well, free speech is still alive and well and living in Britain," but you just know Trump doesn't believe it. I doubt whether Starmer does either, really. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I do tend to think that this is a problem. I go to often. They're bemused about Starmer. It's not like they hate him; they just don't kind of know who he is. Basically, it's an awkward one. But when he said that thing about get your own oil, I felt that he was actually saying, thank you. There we are. Trump tells UK to get your own oil as fuel prices surge. As tensions rise, China and Pakistan have jointly called for an immediate ceasefire and renewed peace talks. Britain has no role, and Europe is pretty irrelevant. I think it's because we've got fourth division politicians. I just think that they're a joke. They're an embarrassing joke, as is the forgotten war with the professional clown of Vladimir Zelensky. That's his actual profession. I think that Trump's more or less decided that Europe and the UK are a lost cause.
And I think he's also extremely annoyed with Europe as well, and especially our leader. This is where this quote comes from. Go get your own oil. Because I think Trump, whether that's true or not, but I think he believes it. He believes what he's doing in the Middle East is to secure the oil for the Western world for the next few decades, with the rise of China, with other problems. And he's making intervention now to ensure the West has oil. And he's sitting back going, and you're not supporting me, you're criticizing me, your country's criticized me. I'm doing this partly for America, but you're going to get benefits out of this. How dare you not support me? How dare you criticize me? Go get your own oil if you don't like what I'm doing. I think that comes out of anger and frustration.
Rightful Seed says, from a young person's point of view, age 25 perhaps, they look at the wages, the rents, the house prices, the CCTV, the mass migration, the low pay, the empty nightlife, the drugs and crime, the future in the UK, and then the taxes. The wealth is all held by the over 70s. In the past, pensioners were poor, not super rich. So there's this kind of malaise, according to Rightful Seed, and the columnist tends to agree. So while Trump keeps saying how great America's economy is, there's nothing really to celebrate in Britain at the moment. But back to the central point, the subject of the program today, Destination Moon and Iran. The moon bit I get. I understand technological appeal of it. Perhaps the most important thing of all is the capability of America to do great things, technically amazing things. And using the very same technology, they're making a terrible mistake when it comes to Iran. Well, I can't say it's a terrible mistake because we don't know quite what their mission objectives are. But fundamentally, the irony here is Destination Moon, achievable, risky, achievable, and probably quite inspirational. I have to say, I think if and when we see people walking on the moon, it will be pretty inspirational. But there's nothing very inspirational about what we're seeing in Iran. And it seems to me almost ironic in a dark way that the very same thing that makes America look so exciting at the moment in space isn't making them look too great in the Middle East.
It isn't. There's only a downside to America for the Iran war if they have to put boots on the ground. That's the only downside, really. Up to that point, far away with drones and space rockets, they can just bomb and bomb and bomb Iran, and that's what they're doing. That costs a lot of money, but doesn't cost any lives to a certain extent of American lives. It's American lives that are precious for the American president, no one else's lives. So there's no real risk there. There's a reputational risk if after all this bombing, the regime still stays intact and rebuilds. That's a bit of a reputational damage, but it also gives them several decades as well before Iran could get back to that stage. So it's a bit of a gamble. I don't think it's a huge gamble for the Americans. It's a huge gamble, for, like I say, for the Europeans.
Yeah.
We've had waves and waves of immigration from the Middle East and surrounding areas because we destabilized those areas to a certain extent, and this is destabilizing Iran. Iran now are bombing lots of other countries. We don't know how this is going to play out. We never know how things are going to play out, and they're right on our doorstep. It's a big risk for Europe.
You've created a strong socialist backlash in the commentary. Colin says wealth should have a cap. Rightful Sheath says you have old people with 2 or 3 homes, families being exploited by slum landlords. It's not a good combo. Adding also the population, we're very overrated. The politicians expect way too much from the public. The debt they've set up for us is not repayable in reality. I tend to agree with you there. Adding, they imagine that we are a workman of 1954, but the young men of today have no wives, children, or homes on the whole. There's nothing for them in this country. And Colin says, keeping us in debt drives productivity. It's true. This is the thing, right? Well, Trump's wrestling with the Middle East, and there's genuinely a big issue, big problem there. At the same time, we've got this remarkable technological achievement, which is happening above our very heads at the moment in a spacecraft. And no one in Britain seems to be talking about it. I'm not surprised you don't know much about Artemis 2, because who's got the time? Most people are just about managing, worrying about debt, and wondering if they're going to have a job next year. So it does seem to me it's a cruel juxtaposition, cruel contrast with Trump saying, "Get your own oil. I'm not going to fight your fights anymore." And then you've got these small-minded politicians, particularly in Britain, who just don't seem to be doing anything useful. Yvette Cooper apparently is going to have some kind of an event. There we are. That's what this is about. Some sort of I don't know, how would you describe it? Jamboree, another attempt at seeming relevant. UK to host Strait of Hormuz summit this week. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper will convene a meeting of 35 nations to discuss reopening the crucial waterway on Thursday. What's she going to say? What's she going to say? Oh, we're going to sneak over there and build a wall? I mean, what's he going to say?
Isn't this what we always do in the West now, apart from Trump? Isn't what we all do? We need a meeting on this. And at that meeting, we're going to discuss the date of the next meeting. And at that meeting, we'll make sure that it's convenient for everybody, because at that meeting, then we may actually put dates to the diary for the meeting where we're going to discuss the agenda for the meeting we're going to have, where we may discuss the problem we think we've got. And that's all we do, is have meetings. And we think, and this is just a PR stunt, we're doing something. Yeah, you're having a meeting. It isn't doing anything, is it? And if meetings solved our problems, we'd be an amazing country to live in, because the amount of meetings we have, but they don't solve anything. It just gives the impression that you know what you're doing, you're trying to achieve something, you're trying to get an outcome out of it. But these meetings don't ever lead to anything concrete, because they're there for PR. That's all these meetings are for, PR events.
So John Healey, the Minister for Defence, didn't know how many ships we have.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me. You know, these are government ministers who, I mean, if you asked a government minister out of the blue something, then yeah, I can understand them not knowing it, even if it's in their brief. But at a time where our Navy, you know, the First Sea Lord is saying we're not ready for war, at the same time where we can't even get a ship in a day to get to Cyprus, we're having the Spanish and the French protect our. At that time, you should be on your brief knowing how many ships you've got, how many are seaworthy, how many, and then you should have that. But the fact you don't even have that at a time of crucial importance just shows the low-level politicians we have in Parliament and as government ministers.
So what will this meeting achieve?
Absolutely not. It will achieve a list of things that they are going to work towards. None of them will be achievable. We're going to ensure that the Americans give a nice pink and fluffy hug to the Ayatollahs. We're going to ensure that all the ships passing the Horn of Hormuz are all net zero ships going forward. We're going to, and it's going to be a load of rubbish because none of the people attending that meeting have any power whatsoever. Pure PR media spin. That's all that is.
Well, all is not lost, though. Something which the country has been worrying about for a long time now is a resolution to the danger presented to Keir Starmer by 3 handsome young men from Ukraine. So while Trump is wrestling with heavyweight war problems, Keir Starmer's got this to look forward to. I wonder what's going to happen with that one.
Well, there's going to be discussions about Keir Starmer and his new rocket that exploded, and how many times did his rocket explode. So I can't believe this isn't in court yet. I'll be surprised if it ends up. I'm surprised it's gone on this long. I thought these guys would have got a deal, would have been paid off, would have been, you know, whatever to keep him out of court.
Maybe that's what's happened. Maybe that is what's happened.
But it could have happened a lot sooner than this. Or they dragged that out, hoping people forget about it as well, and then we'll do the deal at the end. Okay, if this gets to court, to open court, where we can report on it, this will not be good for Keir Starmer.
There are various rumours that
of course
the mainstream has been silenced on this. For those who don't remember, last year, these 3 handsome young men, Ukraine-born, were arrested for torture, allegedly damaging Keir Starmer's property. Nothing has been proved. Being arrested and accused is not an indication of wrongdoing, as we learned from the Epstein files. But the only 2 people who've been found guilty of anything, one is dead and the other one's in prison. Maxwell and Epstein. Nobody else has been found guilty of anything. So being arrested for allegedly damaging Keir Starmer's property is not an indication of wrongdoing. But it really puts into sharp contrast the big problem here. We've got Donald Trump sending people to the moon. We got Donald Trump running a tricky war in the Middle East, and we got Keir Starmer and the 3 handsome young men from Ukraine. It really kind of sums it up. Maybe it's time we got some true talent back for the Labour Party. There he is. We could get him in charge.
Well, do you know what? He doesn't look as bad as he used to. He does in that photo. But he, compared to 5, 6, 7 years ago, whenever he was the leader of the Labour Party, then he doesn't look as bad now as he did then. That's not because he's improved. That's because everyone around him has slowly got worse and worse. Yeah.
It's all weird is relative to. I think it's the Addams family. Right, to finish off where we started. Then I'm not going to ask you about the moon. I'm not going to get a useful answer. But do you think? I think we will get. I think America will get to the moon, and I think they'll do it in the next 2 or 3 years. That's what I think will happen. And I think we'll all watch television, and you'd have to have a cold heart to not be stirred by the return to the moon, and think of the high quality of the pictures and everything else. But do you think that Trump can get himself out of the Iran situation?
Oh yes, even if he takes a bit of a beating from the press, because his answer will always be, I've not sent boots on the ground. That's what you want me to do, isn't it? He'll say to the reporter, you want me to send American young soldiers into harm's way. No, I will take a hit on my reputation because I'll never send American soldiers into harm's way. That's not, so he can twist it. So until he does that, he can walk away anytime he wants and claim success, because it'd be hard to prove what he's saying isn't true. So it's a win-win for him unless he puts boots on the ground.
I do think that probably he'll be very keen on Artemis getting to the moon before he finishes. That's the launch of Artemis, because then he'll be able to speak to the astronauts on the moon, like Richard Nixon did.
Yeah,
that's a big win, I think, and I'm sure that appeals to his sense of occasion and the way that Trump is. So I hope, if nothing else, that before this decade is out, Donald Trump will actually send astronauts to the moon and return them safely to the Earth.
And if he does, there's a bigger benefit than we can possibly imagine, which is uniting the American people over something, over an event, over an achievement. So regardless of where you stand on on politics in America, you're right, everybody be around the TV like in '69, watching it, celebrating. We did that. My people did that. This amazing country. Look what we've achieved. Aren't we great together? And there'll be a lot of social benefits for that. And our country needs something similar, something that everybody can rally around. Something, it doesn't mean if you're on the far left or the far right, you sat there, you're talking, you're celebrating that your country did something amazing. We desperately need something like that as well.
Good place to finish. That's Nick Buckley MBE. I'll simply add that, for me at least, whatever the problems in Iran and the Middle East, and they are really hard, just maybe a moon mission can bring not just America together, but the world together. Because we live in a tiny little dot in the vast emptiness of space. And I would like to think we could settle our differences and reach to the stars for all humankind. I'm Lembit Öpik. Please do like and subscribe if you like what we're doing here. Thanks very much indeed, everybody who's been talking. Have a good Easter, says Colin. We never sleep. We're going to continue doing the shows even over Easter. Colin says Trump should go to the moon. Now that would be worth watching. And more jokes about Uranus. Thanks very much indeed. Whoever named that planet didn't think ahead. Thanks very much. I'm Lembit Öpik. That was Lembit Öpik Live here on Unprecedented TV. I'll see you tomorrow. If you're watching this live, that'll be the long Good Friday.
Immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The return of the sausages.